Parshat, we see Shifra and Puah, who are commanded by Paro, the king and the monarch at the time, to kill all the Jewish babies, and it was a very difficult situation for them because on one hand they're commanded by a monarch to kill these Jewish babies, but it also goes against their morals, whether or not they're actually Jewish. Rashi talks about that, but just to kill innocent kids, it's a difficult conversation. You're commanded to do something by a higher power, and you have your own morals that are telling you not to do that thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the immediate reaction that we have is like to follow your morals and to go up against X, Y, and Z. But like we don't really believe that so much in Judaism. At least certain examples. I mean, you have Avram Avinu, who this exact same thing happens. Hashem says, "Kill your kid." He goes, "All right." Like for Avram, it's viewed in a positive light. Certainly, most people would say. Like people say that was a positive thing for him to have such faith in Hashem, and obviously not to compare part of Hashem, but we have an idea that we really do put faith in our leadership, and it may not be God in the situation, but we generally do put leaders in our rebellion and these sort of people.
I just respond to that by, I think you have to define morals, and I think we define as Jews morals as what's given to us from Hashem, from the Torah, what's in the Torah, and that's what really is the framework for morals. We see in Parshat when Hashem says, when your father or mother commands you to do something, ve'es shabsosai tishmoru, and after it tells you that you're supposed to follow your father and mother, it also says the commandment of Shabbos. So Rishonim discuss why does it say Shabbos right after? In that pasuk they say that because Hashem above all else, even if your father and mother tell you to do something, your moral, what you have to follow is the Torah and follow Kadosh Baruch Hu. So when you're following those morals, it's not necessarily what you feel. I think that the morals are the Torah, and you have to look at the Torah. And
the Torah also values Jews and Judaism to be part of a larger whole, and like for us to each put in our own subjective moralities into our day-to-day action leads us to too much gray area and too much nuance to actually have some sort of like cohesive unit of people. If everyone were to go out and about doing what they think is right, then no one's doing the same thing and everyone's on different pages.
It's a little bit difficult for sure, but you have to see the situation, like the story in Bava Metzia that we saw in the 7th parak with Rabbi Yishmael, where he was commanded by the king to go and catch thieves, which is a moral thing to do, catching thieves. But while he was doing that, he was also catching Jews who happened to be the thieves at the time, and he was having them killed. And Eliyahu comes over to him and says, "What are you doing? How much longer are you going to destroy your own people?" He says, "What do you want me to do? I was commanded by a king. It's king's that's what he told me to do. I don't have much of a choice." He says, "What does that mean you don't have much of a choice? Your father was commanded the same thing, and he ran away. You could too. You should run away too."
Yeah, like the problem is at the end of the day, like if we want to have our units and our communities and our bodies and individuals to have power and have some sort of efficiency, then we need to be on some sort of common ground. And to rely on Eliyahu and Navi to come in and tell you to not stop doing something is not really a universal or general policy that we could go around. I mean, if people are doing something wrong, they're not constantly interacting with Nevi'im who are like, you're doing something wrong. And at the end of the day, like if you have an army and everyone's doing the thing that they think is right, you're not going to have a functioning army. You're going to have cases like you have like in Vietnam, where if people are out and doing whatever they think is correct or moral, even if there's legitimacy to their points, you don't have an army, you don't have a unit, and like how are you going to operate when our bodies of individuals just don't work properly?
This has been Table Talk.